Number 52 Facts about the Porsche 911. Here are 52 facts about the Porsche 911, aka the car that has spent more than 60 years proving that putting the engine in the wrong place can somehow be the right decision. We're going to cover everything from the original air-cooled cars to the turbos, GT models, rally cars, and the newest hybrid monsters. Number 1. The Porsche 911 was originally called the Porsche 901. It debuted under that name at the Frankfurt Motor Show in 1963, and Porsche even started production using the 901 badge. But Peugeot owned the rights to three-digit car names with a 0 in the middle, so Porsche replaced the 0 with a 1 and created the 911, which means one of the most iconic names in automotive history exists because Peugeot sent the German equivalent of a strongly worded email. Number 2. The original 911 came with a 2-liter, air-cooled flat-six making 130 horsepower. That doesn't sound like much today, especially since you can now buy family SUVs with more power than common sense, but the original 911 could reach 210 kilometers per hour, or around 130 miles per hour. For comparison, a standard Volkswagen Beetle from the same era topped out at just 112 kilometers per hour. The 911 was basically a Beetle that started going to the gym and developed anger issues. It also cost 21,900 Deutsche Marks when it launched. Number 3. If the 6-cylinder 911 was too expensive, Porsche would happily sell you the 4-cylinder 912 instead. Introduced in 1965, the 912 combined the body of the new 911 with a less powerful 4-cylinder engine. So yes, Porsche was selling entry-level versions of its flagship sports car long before base-model Porsche owners started explaining that they could have bought the turbo, but preferred the balance. Number 4. The 911 was originally developed as a more practical replacement for the Porsche 356. Ferrari Porsche wanted more cabin space and rear seats, which led to several prototypes, including the Type 754 T7 and the T8. In 1961, Ferrari personally approved the T8 concept, which became the foundation of the production 911. This is why the 911 technically has 4 seats, although calling the rear ones seats is extremely generous. They're more like leather-covered shelves for children, backpacks, or adults you no longer respect. Number 5. The ignition switch in a Porsche is traditionally located to the left of the steering wheel because of old Le Mans-style race starts. Drivers used to run across the track, jump into their cars, start the engine, and drive away. With the key on the left, a Porsche driver could start the engine using one hand while selecting first gear with the other. It probably saved half a second, which is completely insignificant unless you're racing for 24 hours or desperately trying to leave a cars and coffee event before someone asks what you do for a living. Number 6. The tachometer has always been the star of the 911's dashboard. The original car had 5 round instruments, with the rev counter positioned directly in the center because Porsche believed engine speed was more important than actual road speed. And honestly, that makes sense. The speedometer tells you when you're going to jail. The tachometer tells you whether the trip there was worth it. Number 7. The Porsche 911 Targa was introduced in 1965 as what Porsche called the world's first safety cabriolet. Porsche was concerned that stricter American safety rules might eventually kill traditional convertibles, so instead of waiting, it designed a car with a permanent roll bar, a removable roof panel, and a folding rear window. Basically, Porsche invented a convertible for people who wanted wind in their hair, but also preferred their skull to remain approximately skull-shaped. Number 8. The early Targa roof could be configured in 4 different ways. You could drive with everything closed, remove only the roof panel, lower only the rear window, or remove the roof and lower the window completely. The idea became so successful that by the beginning of the 1970s, Targas represented around 40% of 911 sales. Apparently, a massive number of Porsche buyers wanted a convertible, but weren't emotionally prepared to fully commit to one. Number 9. The name Targa comes from the Targa Florio, the legendary Sicilian road race where Porsche had achieved major success. Porsche's sales director originally suggested the name, and it worked so well that Targa eventually became a generic term used across the entire car industry for removable roof sports cars. Imagine naming your product so successfully that every other manufacturer just starts using the name. It's like inventing a tissue and forcing the whole world to call every tissue a Kleenex. Number 10. In 1966, the Porsche 911S introduced the now iconic Fuchs wheel. Unlike conventional wheels of the era, it was forged from a single piece, making it significantly lighter. Today, enthusiasts will pay absurd money for original Fuchs wheels, which is funny because their entire purpose was to reduce unnecessary weight, and now they mainly reduce the weight of your bank account. Number 11. The first 911 to officially use the Carrera name was the 911 Carrera RS 2.7. Carrera is Spanish for race, and Porsche used it as a reference to the Carrera Panamericana, the brutally dangerous Mexican road race where Porsche achieved major success in the 1950s. So technically, every base Carrera you see parked outside an expensive restaurant is named after one of the deadliest races ever created, which makes the 70-year-old owner driving 10 under the speed limit even funnier. Number 12. The Carrera RS 2.7 was the first series production car in the world to come with both a front and rear spoiler. Its rear spoiler became known as the ducktail, and it wasn't just there to look cool. It reduced rear lift and even helped increase the car's top speed. Porsche created it for aerodynamics, and 50 years later, people are bolting fake versions onto base Carreras because looking fast is much cheaper than actually being fast. Number 13. Porsche originally planned to build only 500 examples of the Carrera RS 2.7 because that was the number required for racing homologation. All 500 sold almost immediately, so Porsche built more. And then more. By the end of production, Porsche had built 1,580 cars, more than triple the original plan. Porsche accidentally discovered the limited edition business model, announced a tiny production run, watch rich people panic, and then quietly keep the factory running. Number 14. The lightweight Carrera RS 2.7 Sport weighed only 960 kilograms, or roughly 2,116 pounds. Its 210 horsepower engine pushed it from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 5.8 seconds, making it the first production car tested by the German magazine Automotor und Sport to break the 6-second barrier. That was supercar performance in 1972, achieved with less horsepower than a modern minivan. Weight reduction works, people. You don't always need another 300 horsepower. Sometimes you just need to stop bringing your entire house with you. Number 15. The second generation 911 is commonly called the G Series, but technically only the 1974 model year car was actually called the G Series internally. Porsche moved through H, J, K, and other internal programs in the following years. But everyone kept calling the entire generation the G Series, because car enthusiasts love correcting people right up until the incorrect name becomes so popular that they're forced to use it too. Number 16. That so-called G Series remained in production from 1973 until 1989, making it the longest-running 911 generation. Porsche built 198,496 examples during those 16 years. That's a ridiculously long production run, especially considering that modern manufacturers will redesign an entire dashboard after 3 years because somebody decided the air vents were no longer emotionally engaging. Number 17. In the 1970s, Porsche genuinely planned to replace the 911 with a front-engine, V8-powered 928. Porsche executives believed the old, rear-engine 911 was becoming outdated, uncomfortable, and difficult to develop further, which was completely logical. Unfortunately for them, customers didn't care about logic. They wanted the loud, awkward, tail-heavy dinosaur, not the comfortable futuristic spaceship. Number 18. The man credited with saving the 911 was Peter Schütz, who became Porsche's CEO in 1981. Less than 3 weeks after taking the job, he reversed the decision to discontinue the 911. According to the famous story, he extended the 911's production line on a planning chart, so it continued indefinitely. In other words, one executive saved the most important Porsche ever built by basically drawing a longer line with a marker. Corporate meetings could be emails, and corporate strategy could apparently be stationary. Number 19. After saving the 911, Porsche expanded the lineup, including the introduction of the first proper 911 Cabriolet in 1982. Until then, open-top buyers had to settle for the Targa. The Cabriolet became especially important in the United States, where buyers loved the idea of experiencing German engineering while allowing the entire neighborhood to see who was financing it. Number 20. Porsche unveiled the first 911 Turbo concept at the Frankfurt Motor Show in September 1973, right around the beginning of the global oil crisis. Yes, while the world was panicking about fuel shortages, Porsche looked at its small sports car and said, "You know what this needs? More fuel and forced induction." Economically irresponsible? Absolutely. Spiritually correct? Also absolutely. Number 21. The first road-going 911 Turbo was not sold to a customer. Ferry Porsche gave it to his sister, Louise Peach, for her 70th birthday in August 1974. Her one-off prototype had a slimmer body than the later production Turbo, and wore a Carrera badge instead of a Turbo badge, but it already had the giant whale-tail rear spoiler. Most people give flowers for their 70th birthday. Louise got a turbocharged prototype that was actively trying to kill the rear tires. Number 22. Porsche originally intended the 911 Turbo to be a small, prestigious limited production model. But demand was much stronger than expected, and Porsche built 2,850 examples of the original 3-liter Turbo during its first 3 years. This was an early lesson for Porsche. When customers ask for a faster and more dangerous version of something, never underestimate how many of them are willing to sign the financing paperwork. Number 23. The original 911 Turbo wasn't simply a normal 911 with a turbocharger thrown into the engine bay. Porsche reworked more than 85% of the car's components. It received wider bodywork, upgraded brakes, revised suspension, larger wheels, and a completely different personality. So calling it just a turbocharged 911 is like calling a grizzly bear just a large dog. Technically, they have some things in common, but only one of them is going to launch you backward through a hedge. Number 24. The 993 generation Turbo introduced twin turbochargers and all-wheel drive to the production 911 Turbo. Porsche used 2 smaller turbochargers to improve response, while the all-wheel drive system helped put its 408 horsepower onto the road. It also came with hollow-spoke aluminum wheels, a world-first design that saved around 3 kilograms per wheel. That's 12 kilograms saved by removing metal from the inside of the wheels, because apparently normal lightweight wheels were not German enough. Number 25. The first production all-wheel drive 911 was the 964 generation Carrera 4, introduced as a 1989 model. Its system was developed using knowledge Porsche gained from the 959 supercar and its Paris-Dakar rally program. So every modern all-wheel drive 911 owes part of its existence to a group of engineers deciding that a low sports car with its engine hanging behind the rear axle should be sent across the African desert. Number 26. In 1984, a four-wheel drive Porsche 911 won the Paris-Dakar Rally outright. Internally called the Type 953, the car was based on the 911 Carrera 3.2 and became the first sports car to win the event. Porsche looked at a rally dominated by trucks and rugged off-road vehicles and entered a sports car. It's the automotive equivalent of entering a greyhound in a swimming competition and somehow winning. Number 27. The 964 still looked extremely similar to the previous 911, but around 85% of its components were newly developed. It introduced features like ABS, power steering, airbags, improved climate control, and all-wheel drive. Basically, Porsche rebuilt almost the entire car but left the body recognizable, so its customers wouldn't become frightened and start writing angry letters in perfect cursive. Number 28. The 993 was the final generation of the air-cooled 911. Production ended in 1998 after Porsche built 68,881 examples. Because it was the last air-cooled model, collectors now treat almost every surviving 993 like it was personally assembled by Ferdinand Porsche using tools blessed by the German government. Even basic versions cost enough to make you wonder whether air is actually the world's most expensive engine coolant. Number 29. The 996 generation, introduced in 1997, was the first water-cooled 911. Porsche needed water cooling to meet stricter emission standards and to control the temperatures created by new 4-valve cylinder heads. The 996 also shared a significant number of parts with the Boxster because Porsche was trying to reduce production costs. Enthusiasts hated that, mostly because Porsche owners enjoy exclusivity and don't like discovering that their expensive sports car uses the same switch as the cheaper expensive sports car. Number 30. The 996 became infamous for its fried egg headlights. The headlights combined several lighting functions into one unit and helped Porsche share components with the Boxster, but many customers thought they looked terrible. Porsche itself has acknowledged that people complained about them. The car could be technically brilliant, fast, and more usable than any previous 911, but enthusiasts saw an orange section inside the headlight and decided civilization had peaked in 1997. Number 31. Despite being ignored and insulted for years, the 996 was a major commercial success. Porsche produced 175,262 examples, making it one of the most successful generations in the 911's history at the time. So while the internet spent decades calling it the ugly one, actual customers kept buying them. This is usually how future classics are created. Everyone hates them until the affordable examples disappear, and then the same people suddenly claim they always understood the design. Number 32. The first Porsche 911 GT3 debuted in 1999. Before the car was even officially launched, rally legend Walter Röhrl drove it around the Nürburgring Nordschleife in 7 minutes and 56.33 seconds. It became one of the first production cars to officially lap the circuit in under 8 minutes. Today, 7 minutes and 56 seconds doesn't sound insane because modern hypercars have completely broken our perception of speed. But in 1999, this was basically witchcraft with license plates. Number 33. According to Porsche, around 80% of all 911 GT3s were regularly driven on race tracks. That is an absurd percentage for a road-legal production car. It also means the remaining 20% were probably driven exclusively between climate-controlled garages, expensive coffee shops, and dealerships where their owners complained about tiny marks underneath the front splitter. Number 34. The GT3 name comes from the racing class in which its competition versions were designed to compete. It effectively replaced the Carrera RS as Porsche's road-legal track weapon. That's why GT3 doesn't refer to the engine size, horsepower, or number of seats. It refers to racing. Although, based on current market prices, it could also stand for "Give the dealer $300,000." Number 35. With the 997 generation, Porsche returned to traditional round headlights, mainly because enthusiasts would not stop complaining about the 996. The 997 also introduced major technology, including the first Porsche dual-clutch transmission offered in a 911 and variable turbine geometry turbochargers in the 911 Turbo. That was the first series production gasoline engine to use the technology. So the 997 looked more traditional while being significantly more advanced underneath, basically the engineering equivalent of hiding a smartwatch inside a grandfather clock. Number 36. The 2016 Porsche 911 R combined the 500 horsepower, 4-liter engine from the GT3 RS with a 6-speed manual transmission and a subtle body without the GT3 RS giant wing. Porsche built exactly 991 examples, matching the internal generation number. The result was a car created specifically for purists, collectors, and professional vehicle flippers who listed them for double the price before the delivery truck had left the dealership. Number 37. Porsche built the 1,000,000th 911 on May 11, 2017. It was a specially configured Carrera S painted Irish green and fitted with details inspired by the original 1960s car. Porsche kept the vehicle instead of selling it, which is understandable. After producing 1 million of something, you're allowed to keep one. That's how factory rewards should work. Somewhere, an employee who assembled thousands of them probably received a branded coffee mug. Number 38. Even after passing 1 million cars, total 911 production was still relatively low compared with normal mass-produced vehicles. Porsche pointed out that some premium manufacturers build more than twice that number of vehicles in a single year. So yes, the 911 is common enough that you'll see 3 of them outside an upscale restaurant, but rare enough for every owner to believe theirs is a deeply personal expression of individuality. Number 39. The 991 became the best-selling 911 generation Porsche had ever built. From 2011 through October 2018, Porsche produced 217,930 examples. That's impressive considering how many different versions existed. Carrera, Carrera S, Carrera 4, GTS, Targa, Turbo, GT3, GT2, R. Porsche had basically discovered that you can sell the same general shape to the same customer repeatedly as long as you change the badge and remove or add a wing. Number 40. For the 911's 50th anniversary, Porsche built exactly 1,963 examples of the special 50 years edition, referencing the year the original car was unveiled. Porsche loves doing this. Anniversary editions are rarely limited to a normal round number. They're limited to a historically significant number, which sounds much more meaningful when the salesperson explains why you need to pay an historically significant markup. Number 41. In 2017, the 700 horsepower 911 GT2 RS lapped the Nürburgring Nordschleife in 6 minutes and 47.3 seconds, setting a new record for road-approved sports cars at the time. Porsche's original development target was simply to break 7 minutes and 5 seconds. The car beat that target by 17.7 seconds. Imagine spending years engineering a car, setting an ambitious target, and then discovering that your own creation is significantly more unhinged than expected. Number 42. The 2017 Porsche 911 RSR race car technically became mid-engined. Porsche moved its flat-six engine forward so it sat in front of the rear axle, improving weight distribution and creating space for a massive rear diffuser. So Porsche built a 911, moved the engine away from the position that defines the 911, and still called it a 911. That's like moving out of your house, renting it to someone else, and continuing to use the address on all your mail. Number 43. The Porsche 911 GT3 Cup became the best-selling GT racing car in the world. From 1990 through the end of 2019, Porsche produced 4,251 Cup cars in race-ready form. They were assembled on the same production line as road-going 911s before being prepared and tested by Porsche Motorsport. Imagine ordering a new Porsche and watching the car ahead of yours receive a roll cage, air jacks, a fire extinguisher, and absolutely no concern for grocery storage. Number 44. The current 992 generation GT3 RS became the first production Porsche fitted with a drag reduction system, or DRS. Pressing a button flattens parts of the front and rear wings to reduce drag on straights. Under emergency braking, the wings move in the opposite direction and act as an air brake. Yes, the GT3 RS has Formula One style active aerodynamics, even though most of them will spend their lives overtaking normal traffic on the way to brunch. Number 45. At 285 km per hour, the 992 GT3 RS produces 860 kilograms, almost 1,900 pounds, of downforce. Porsche pointed out that this is roughly equivalent to the weight of an entire classic Porsche 356A pushing the car into the ground. The GT3 RS is basically carrying an invisible vintage Porsche on top of it. Unfortunately, you still have to pay for the actual car underneath. Number 46. The Porsche 911 Dakar was limited to 2,500 examples and came from the factory with serious off-road equipment. It sat 50 mm higher than a Carrera with sport suspension, and its lift system could raise it another 30 mm. In its highest setting, the system could operate at speeds of up to 170 km per hour. Porsche even offered a roof rack and a roof tint. Finally, a 911 for people who enjoy camping but refuse to experience financial humility. Number 47. In December 2023, a heavily modified Porsche 911 Carrera 4S set a world altitude record by reaching 6,721 meters above sea level on the Ojos del Salado volcano in Chile. The car ran on synthetic e-fuel and operated in temperatures around -20 degrees Celsius, where the air was roughly half as dense as it is at sea level. Most sports cars struggle with speed bumps. This one climbed a volcano high enough to make breathing optional. Number 48. The 911 S/T was created to celebrate the model's 60th anniversary and was limited to exactly 1,963 cars. It combined the 525 horsepower, 9,000 revolutions per minute engine from the GT3 RS with a 6-speed manual transmission. At only 1,380 kilograms, it became the lightest 911 of the 992 generation. It was essentially Porsche taking its loudest modern engine, removing unnecessary weight, adding a manual, and charging collectors enough money to ensure most examples would never see rain. Number 49. Porsche developed a special lightweight clutch and single-mass flywheel for the S/T, reducing rotating mass by 10.5 kilograms. Removing rotating mass makes an engine respond much faster than simply removing the same amount of static weight from the body. In normal language, the engine revs like somebody just told it there's one last naturally aspirated Porsche available at sticker price. Number 50. Sally Carrera from Pixar's Cars is a Porsche 911 from the 996 generation. Pixar and Porsche even created a full-size, drivable version of the character for promotional use. The real car had its wheelbase shortened, roof raised, and almost every body panel modified to match the animated design. Somehow, Pixar made the fried egg headlight generation adorable, which might be the company's greatest animation achievement. Number 51. In 2024, Porsche introduced the first road-going hybrid 911 in the model's 61-year history. The Carrera GTS uses a compact performance hybrid system with an electric motor inside the transmission and an electrically assisted turbocharger. Porsche tested the system for more than 5 million kilometers, and despite adding hybrid hardware, the new car gained only around 50 kilograms. This isn't a hybrid designed to quietly save fuel in a supermarket parking lot. It's a hybrid designed to make the turbo spin sooner, because apparently turbo lag is now an environmental issue. Number 52. And because Porsche never knows when to stop, the newest 911 Turbo S takes that hybrid technology even further. Its 3.6-liter flat-six uses 2 electric turbochargers and produces 711 horsepower, making it the most powerful production 911 ever built. It can reach 100 kilometers per hour in 2.5 seconds and has a top speed of 322 kilometers per hour. The original 911 had 130 horsepower. The new Turbo S has nearly 5.5 times as much power, all-wheel drive, hybrid assistance, active suspension, and enough computers to run a small country. But after more than 60 years, it still has a flat-six behind the driver and still looks unmistakably like a 911. Which proves that Porsche engineers will change absolutely everything, as long as nobody notices. And we're done. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more.